Today, we will continue explaining Microsoft Excel. Here is a table showing some training courses for software. Over 3 months, January, February, and March. We shade the table like this and then click Insert. Here are chart options. And here are recommended charts. For example, by clicking here, you can insert a chart. Or by clicking Insert and then Recommended Charts. The recommended charts will appear. Here, you can see the course names listed in the tables column. You can click on each chart to display them. By clicking on Column for column charts. And by clicking on Line for line charts. By clicking on one, it gets enlarged for a clearer view. By clicking on Pie for circle charts. You can select it for one column, here, January. Here's the bar and area for bar and area charts. And here's scatter for scatter charts. Here are the rest of the chart types. For example, let's select one of the column charts, then click OK. You'll notice the appearance of the Design and Format tabs for the chart. By clicking on Chart Design, then Move Chart. This is to move the chart to a different worksheet. By clicking on Move Chart. The first choice is to move the chart to an existing worksheet. The second choice is to insert the chart into a new worksheet. For example, by selecting a new worksheet and clicking OK. The chart will open in a new worksheet with the chosen name, while the table data remains in the other worksheet. By clicking Add Chart Element. Or you can click on the plus sign here. The possible chart elements to add will appear. For example, by clicking Axes. Then clicking to add or remove horizontal axis. Let's zoom in for a clearer view. By clicking here, then removing the axes, they disappear from the chart. To show them again, click on Axes once more. Here, you can add or remove the vertical axis. And here, you can add or remove the horizontal axis. By clicking on Axes, then More Options. Options for formatting the axes will appear. We'll explain them in detail shortly. By clicking here, then Axis Titles. Clicking on it will reveal horizontal and vertical axis titles. By clicking here, then Axis Titles. You can also remove or add a horizontal axis title. Similarly, you can remove or add a vertical axis title. Here you can change the chart title. For example, change it to Training Courses. By clicking on the chart title, you can hide or show it. Click here to change the title's position, top, center, or more options. Clicking on more options will display these choices. We'll explain them in a moment. Click here, then Data Labels. These display data for each column on the chart. By clicking on Data Labels, then choose the data's position relative to the chart's columns. Or hide them by unchanged decking Data Labels. By clicking on Data Table, it displays the table data below the chart's columns. Or hide it by unchanged decking Data Table. By clicking on error bars to show data deviation. Click here to remove grid lines. Clicking here on the trend line shows the general data trend with an increase and decrease. Opens a window to choose the trend's basis, like months. For example, by choosing March and then clicking OK, you'll notice a trend line for the data. By clicking Format, then Format Selection, you'll see formatting options for the trend line. For example, changing some trend line formats. As you can change elements from this menu. You can change them by clicking on Chart Design. Then clicking on Add Chart Element. Through this, you can change the formatting of chart elements. Next to each element, you'll find more options. By clicking on them, you'll see detailed formatting choices for each element. By clicking on any element, then Format, and Format Selection, you'll see detailed options for formatting each element. Here, you'll find a list of all chart elements. For instance, by clicking here, you'll see formatting options for it. By clicking here, then choosing Chart Area, you'll see options for formatting the chart area and text. Chart options for shaping and text options for text formatting. For example, by clicking on Chart Options and changing some formatting, you'll see the effect of the changes on the chart. For instance, changing the chart's color. Or changing the chart border format. Also, You can change the chart effects. For instance, changing the chart shadow and glow, and other effects. By clicking here, then selecting chart title. You'll also see options for formatting the title and text. For example, by clicking on title options and changing some formats. Changing some formatting. These changes will appear on the title. By clicking on text options and changing some text formatting. Formatting changes will appear on the title text. By clicking here, then selecting the horizontal axis. The horizontal axis of the chart will be highlighted. You'll also see axis options and text options. For example, by clicking on text options, then changing the color. Or by clicking on axis options, then changing the formatting. Or by clicking on text options and changing the color. By clicking here, then selecting the legend. You'll also see options for the legend and text. By changing some text formatting like this. Or by changing some formatting for the legend like this. Notice that when selecting any element, you'll see shape and text options. By clicking here, then selecting plot area. You'll notice there are no text formatting options here. You can change the formatting of this area like this. For example, changing the color to a solid color, pattern, or image. Or changing the border formatting of the area like this. By clicking here, then selecting the vertical axis. You'll also see options for formatting the axis and text. For example, by changing some formatting. By clicking here, then choosing the vertical axis values. This represents the horizontal line for each value on the vertical axis. By changing some formatting for these lines like this. By clicking here, then selecting the January series. This represents one of the series in the chart, and is represented by columns in a specific color on the chart. For example, when you click on one of the columns, you'll see its formatting options. For instance, when you click on the columns for the month of March, you'll see formatting choices. By changing some formatting for the February series, you'll notice the formatting changes on the columns. You can also change the border formatting for the columns. Or change the shadow formatting for the columns like this. Here you can change the spacing between the columns. By clicking here, then selecting data labels. By clicking on them, you'll see formatting options for them. By changing some formatting for the data labels, whether it's shape or text formatting for the data labels, by clicking on the label options, then clicking here to show names next to the values. And here to show series names. And by clicking here to input values from specific cells. For example, by clicking here, then choosing some cells, the selected cell values will appear on the columns. You can also change some text formatting for the data labels. Here are the borders for the text or numbers. And you can change the shadow for the text. And other text formatting options. For example, the right or left margins for the text. By clicking on Chart Design, then Quick Layout. For quickly changing the chart's design. By clicking on Change Colors. To change the color scheme for the chart. Here, you can choose one of the predefined chart styles. After selecting a style, you can modify its formatting options. By clicking on Switch Row Column. To quickly swap the data of the horizontal and vertical axes. Notice how the data for both axes is switched. By clicking on it again, the data returns to its original state. By selecting Data to change the chart's data. By clicking here to switch rows and columns to swap axes. And by clicking here to change data cells. By clicking to change the chart type. To change the type and style of the chart. For example, select one of the charts, then OK. Here, you can change the style for this type. Because this type is three-dimensional, you'll find some different chart elements. For example, there are floors, walls, and a back wall. For instance, by clicking on the side wall and changing its formatting. Or by selecting the floor and changing some of its formatting. By clicking on the columns, you can change their shape. For example, choosing the full pyramid for the selected columns. And choosing the cylinder for this series. Here, you can change the graph width. By clicking here and selecting walls. For example, changing the color of the walls. The color will change for all walls. By clicking here, then selecting the side wall and changing its color. The color will change for this wall, distinct from the others. By clicking on Format, then Reset to match style. The formatting for the highlighted element will be removed. Similarly, by clicking on the chart, then Format, then Reset to match style. Any applied formatting will be deleted. By clicking on the chart, then Format. and selecting one of the shape styles. Or changing the color from here. Or choosing one of the text styles from here. Let's zoom in a bit to illustrate the changes on the text. Or add a glow from here. And from here to add a shadow. We will continue in subsequent videos. If you like this video, click like, share and subscribe to get the new videos. And visit us at Fair Solution. Thank you and have a nice day.